Welcome to episode 1 of Sample Shift. Today we're going to be looking at Native Instruments, the Grandeur. The Grandeur is available as part of Complete 12. It's part of Complete 12 Ultimate, and it is also comes as a bundle, a Native Instruments piano bundle, or you can buy it standalone for 99 bucks. They say it has 2,500 individual samples and 18 velocity zones, which sounds pretty fancy. It's 5.26 gigabytes compressed and 13.7 gigabytes uncompressed. So right there, that is for me one of the perks of some of these Native Instruments libraries is the sample footprint. And I know hard drives are getting cheaper and cheaper, but there comes a point where if you're still buying really high quality solid state drives, you may not have space for a 30 gigabyte piano library. So we've kind of got to weigh the sample footprint with the results we can get. So let's dig in and see what this library sounds like. So I don't want to take too much time looking at the interface here because most of the Native Instruments piano sample libraries have pretty similar interfaces. You've got your tone tab here, which has the built-in equalizer, the onboard compressor. You've got your low-key volume increaser or decreaser, which is useful if you are a heavy left-handed player. You can pull back the volume of the left hand like this. So I'm going to try and play the same velocities here. So you can see it increases and decreases the low end without you having to change your playing style. We've got the anatomy tab, which allows you to enable overtones, get rid of release samples, add all these noises that can add a lot of realism. And these features are huge to me for looking at how much this library has to offer for the price, for the sample footprint, the amount of options you have, whether you want a ton of realism, a ton of authenticity, like it's a live performance, like you're right there next to the piano, versus if you need a really clean studio sound that has no hammer noises, none of that stuff. You have all that is options. And then, of course, you've got a really pretty powerful onboard reverb as well. The one thing I do want to look at real quick on the interface that I use quite a bit is the lid function, which is basically a really fast, high-frequency roll-off. I don't ever use the mid option too much. I'll show you what it sounds like. I usually just go all the way to the extreme. If I need that cinematic or trailer intro sound, you can crank up the reverb here, get that really cinematic sound. So let's hear what it sounds like with the lid roll off all the way up. So that's just a little brighter than I like it. Need a little more reverb here, but let's go midway down. So now we're getting there. That midway could be handy for more of a moving line, like something like that. But for that really slow atmospheric, let's put the lid all the way down, and here's what it sounds like now. And if it's still not soft enough, we can use the softness button here to really help us if you're having trouble playing into the softest samples, we can throw this down here and it will draw from now more of the softer samples. So you can get some really soft, subdued, warm, cinematic sounding stuff there. Versus you can also go all the way for hard. Let's say we need some pop sound. Okay, well now I'm sounding like low-level stock music. All right, let's put that back to normal. Let's take a look at some of the timbre and dynamic options we have with playing at different velocities in the different ranges. So starting in the low here. So as you can see, it can go really pretty soft. And it really changes the timbre. I can tell there's quite a bit of sample variation for the different velocities. It doesn't just change the volume, it truly changes the sample, and it's a really smooth transition. There's a really smooth transition in the fact that it doesn't have all of a sudden that point where you realize, oh, now they're using from the highest samples, it all of a sudden kicks into that different timbre. So I like that quite a bit. There's a lot of clarity in the low end. It doesn't ever get super punchy, but I am okay with that because there's not really a lot of writing where I need that. If I really wanted, that scary cinematic scene where the piano is just, almost getting hit with a hammer, it sounds like, this library probably doesn't quite. It doesn't get that aggression in the low end, but the amount of times where I need that are pretty rare, and you can get some pretty cheap samples actually that cover those bases. Let's check out the mid, a little bit of the mid range here. So it almost feels like the mid range has a little more punch option than the bass did. And I'm having a lot of trouble in the mid range getting to that really, really soft, low, mellow part of the piano without using the lid. Obviously, with the lid turned all the way down, we can get some softer stuff. Let's try turning the tone all the way to soft as well. So if you use those tools, you can get the softer, but it's a little harder to get that mellow tone out of this piano. I wouldn't say that that's what it's meant to do. It can do it, but when you've got to cover so many bases, you have trouble excelling at everything too. Let's hear what our highs are like. So it's even worse with the highs. I'm having a lot of trouble getting to the really lowest levels of the velocity. There's still a lot of different layers you can tell. It's a really smooth transition. You can kind of tell that top sample is really punching in there. Really nice sounds, I'd say. There's not, boy, having a lot of trouble getting really soft at the top, but there's not a lot of times I think either where you need that much variation in dynamics unless you were trying to play some classical or something. Let's throw it into a couple of different genres and see how it holds up to some different styles of playing here. So let's try out some classical first. So yeah, it actually seems to have a really naturally classical sound, which of course is because I believe they sampled a 9-foot concert grand. So let's try some jazz. You'll have to bear with my jazz playing because I am not a jazz pianist. Okay, so it sounds, my playing is terrible, but you can kind of tell if you need that punchy, that kind of punchy jazz sound, it can do it. It's got a really nice, bright, punchy sound when you want it. I wouldn't say that it can do that old classic, like if you're looking for a retro sounding 50s bop kind of jazz piano, I wouldn't say it would be able to do that very easily unless you tweaked a ton of the interface sliders, maybe even plugged in some third-party plugins to get it there. But if you're looking for more of a modern, punchy jazz sound, I think it can do that pretty well. Let's try some pop. So a lot of versatility once again for that punchy sound. Let's try some cinematic stuff or some like trailer style see if it can hold up to that. I'm going to turn the lid down. See if we can find a good reverb. Let's try a cathedral reverb. Quite a bit of reverb here. Ooh, that's nice. So it can do that soft once you roll off the top frequencies with the lid. You know, that really magical shimmering. I mean, the reverb is a big part of that and the high roll off, but you know, it gives you the options. In one piano, you can do so many different styles with this one piano, I would say. Yeah, let's try like a trailer intro. So yeah, trailers seems to nail it. So overall, for my conclusion, I'd have to say this is one of the most versatile piano sample libraries that I've actually used, in my opinion. The amount of different genres it can cover is pretty impressive. If you're looking for one piano, if you need one piano, like this is all you can afford, or you just want something at the top of your template that could be used for so many different things, I would say that this is the piano probably that could cover all those bases, in my opinion. If you need some more character in your pianos, this one does not have a lot of character. There's a lot of other pianos out there that have more unique sounds, more standout sounds. This one is your cover all the bases, basic standard piano that I really don't have a lot of problems with, except that maybe it's a little bit harder to get to the softer range of the dynamics. But overall, highly recommend this piano. It should be noted I am currently not sponsored by any sample libraries. This is simply my own experience. I do happen to love Native Instruments. I do happen to love a lot of the Native Instruments products. There are some that they have included that I absolutely hate, and we will get into those eventually. But most of them are pretty amazing libraries at pretty awesome costs if you buy the complete series. Well, that does it for this video. We will hopefully see you in the next one.